The gunshot that rang out across the dusty main street of Jerome, Arizona Territory, on that scorching July afternoon in 1883, was not meant for her. But Lily Lancaster still felt her heart leap into her throat as the bullet struck the wooden post mere inches from where she stood. She pressed herself against the storefront wall, her basket of supplies tumbling to the ground, scattering flour and sugar across the weathered planks of the boardwalk. Through the chaos and screaming of townsfolk diving for cover, she saw him for the first time. Owen Garrison moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost impossible for a man of his size. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with sun-bronzed skin and dark hair that fell just past his collar. His hand was already on his revolver as he stepped off his horse, boots hitting the dirt with a determined thud. The drunk who had fired the wayward shot was still waving his pistol around when Owen closed the distance between them in 3 long strides. With a swift motion that Lily could barely follow, Owen disarmed the man, sending the gun spinning away into the dirt, and had him face down on the ground before anyone else could react. Sheriff Morrison came running from his office, his deputy close behind, and together they hauled the drunk away while Owen dusted off his hands and picked up his hat from where it had fallen. That was when his eyes met Lily's for the first time. They were the color of storm clouds over the mountains, gray with flecks of blue, and they held an intensity that made her breath catch in a completely different way than fear had. "You all right, miss?" His voice was deep, roughened by years under the sun and wind, but there was genuine concern in it. Lily found herself nodding before she could form words. "Yes, thank you. That man could have killed someone." "Could have killed you," Owen said, and something in the way he said it made heat rise to her cheeks despite the circumstances. He bent down and began gathering her scattered supplies, placing them back in her basket with surprising care for such rough-looking hands. When he stood and handed the basket back to her, their fingers brushed for just a moment, and Lily felt a spark that had nothing to do with the Arizona heat. "Lily Lancaster," she said, offering her name like a gift. "Owen Garrison." He tipped his hat to her, and she noticed the way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he gave her a small smile. "You live here in Jerome. My father owns the general store just there." She gestured behind her to the modest establishment that had been their family's livelihood for the past 5 years since they had come west from Missouri. "And you?" "Just passing through, mostly. I work horses at the Double R Ranch about 10 miles north, come into town for supplies now and then." He seemed reluctant to leave, shifting his weight from one boot to the other, and Lily found herself equally reluctant to see him go. "Perhaps you'll come by the store next time you need supplies," she heard herself say, surprised at her own boldness. That smile widened just a fraction. "Perhaps I will, Miss Lancaster." She watched him walk back to his horse, admiring the confident set of his shoulders, the easy way he swung himself into the saddle. He looked back once before riding away, and Lily felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. Her father, Harold Lancaster, was waiting inside the store when she finally gathered herself enough to go in. He was a practical man, graying at the temples, with wire-rimmed spectacles perpetually perched on his nose. "Heard the commotion," he said, looking her over with a father's critical eye. "You hurt?" "No, Papa. A cowboy stopped the drunk before anyone got hurt." Her father nodded, already turning back to his ledgers. "Good. We cannot afford trouble. Business is finally starting to pick up with the mining operations expanding." Jerome was indeed growing. What had started as a small mining camp was transforming into a bustling town, as copper deposits drew more miners, merchants, and fortune seekers every month. The hillside location gave stunning views of the Verde Valley below, but it also made for treacherous streets that seemed to defy the natural laws of how a town should be built. Buildings clung to the slope at odd angles, and more than one drunk had rolled down the main street after a night of heavy drinking. Lily spent the rest of that day thinking about Owen Garrison more than she should have. She thought about him as she swept the store, as she helped customers, as she prepared supper for her father and herself. Her mother had died 3 years prior from pneumonia, and since then, it had been just the two of them. Her father buried himself in work, and Lily had learned to be self-sufficient, running the household while also helping in the store. She was 22 years old, and while several men in town had expressed interest in courting her, she had never felt that spark of something more, that connection she had read about in the few romance novels she managed to get her hands on. Until today. Until storm-gray eyes had met hers across a dusty street. 3 days passed before Owen Garrison walked through the door of Lancaster's general store. Lily was on a ladder, reaching for a bolt of fabric on a high shelf when the bell above the door chimed. She looked down and nearly lost her balance when she saw who had entered. Owen moved quickly, positioning himself at the base of the ladder with his hands raised as if to catch her should she fall. "Careful there, Miss Lancaster, Mr. Garrison." She climbed down more carefully than she might have otherwise, very aware of his proximity. "What can I help you with today?" He produced a list from his shirt pocket. "Need some supplies for the ranch. Boss sent me in with orders." They went through the list together, Lily gathering items while Owen followed, and she could feel his eyes on her even when she was not looking directly at him. There was a comfortable quality to his presence, despite the undercurrent of attraction that seemed to hum in the air between them. "How long have you been working with horses?" she asked as she weighed out nails on the scale. "Since I was old enough to sit a saddle. My father had a small ranch in Texas before Comanche raids forced us out. He died when I was 15, and I have been working ranches ever since." That was 10 years ago now, so he was 25, Lily calculated, only 3 years older than herself. "I am sorry about your father. It was a long time ago." But she could see the shadow that crossed his face, the old pain that never quite faded. "What about you? Always lived in Jerome?" "We came from Missouri 5 years back. Papa thought there would be opportunity with the mines growing. He was right, though it has been hard work building the business." Owen nodded, leaning against the counter in a way that suggested he was in no hurry to leave. "It suits you, this life. You seem strong, capable." Coming from another man, it might have sounded patronizing, but from Owen it felt like the highest compliment. "I do what needs doing. That is a good quality." He met her eyes again with that intense gaze. "There are not many women who could handle this territory. It is harsh country." "There are not many men who would notice that it takes strength," she countered, surprising herself again with her boldness. Something flickered in his expression, approval mixed with interest. "Then most men are fools." They were interrupted by another customer entering, old Mrs. Chen, who ran the boarding house down the street. Lily had to turn her attention to helping the older woman, but she remained acutely aware of Owen's presence as he waited. When Mrs. Chen finally left with her purchases, Owen stepped back to the counter. "Miss Lancaster, I was wondering if you might allow me to call on you, properly, I mean. With your father's permission, of course." Lily felt warmth bloom in her chest. "I would like that very much. Sunday afternoon. I could borrow a buggy, take you for a drive if the weather holds. Sunday would be lovely." She watched him leave with considerably more spring in her step than she had possessed before his arrival, and when her father emerged from the back room, he gave her a knowing look. "That the cowboy who helped you the other day?" "Yes, Papa. His name is Owen Garrison. He works at the Double R Ranch." Her father considered this, then nodded slowly. Thomas Reed runs a good operation out there. If Reed trusts him with a supply run, he must be reliable. He asked to call on me Sunday. I said yes. Harold Lancaster was quiet for a long moment, studying his daughter's face. Finally, he sighed. Your mother would have known better what to say. I suppose you are a grown woman, Lily, but be careful. Cowboys are restless men by nature. Yes, Papa. But she did not feel careful. She felt reckless and alive in a way she never had before. Sunday arrived with clear skies and a slight breeze that made the Arizona heat more bearable. Owen appeared at precisely 2 o'clock, driving a neat buggy pulled by a handsome bay mare. He had cleaned up, his dark hair still damp from washing, wearing a pressed shirt that made his broad shoulders look even more impressive. Harold Lancaster gave Owen a stern talking to on the porch while Lily finished getting ready, and by the time she emerged in her best blue dress, Owen looked slightly pale but determined. They drove out of town toward the hills, following a trail that wound through juniper and mesquite. Your father is protective, Owen said once they were far enough from town. I am all he has left since Mama died. Can you blame him? Not even a little. Owen guided the horse expertly around a rough patch in the trail. If I had a daughter like you, I would probably challenge any man who came calling to a duel. Lily laughed at that, a genuine sound that seemed to please him. You would not. You are right. I would challenge them to break a wild horse instead, much more practical. Can you do that? Break wild horses. It is part of the work at the Double R. Mr. Reed buys wild mustangs and we train them for saddle or harness. Some are easier than others. Is it dangerous? Owen shrugged, but she could see the truth in his eyes. It can be. But most things worth doing have some risk to them. They reached a spot that overlooked the valley, and Owen helped her down from the buggy. The view was spectacular, miles of rolling terrain stretching toward distant mountains, the Verd River glinting like a ribbon in the distance. They stood together in companionable silence for a while, just taking in the vastness of the land. My mother used to say that God made Arizona territory to remind people how small they were, Lily said softly. I did not understand what she meant until after she was gone. But standing here, I think I do now. Owen moved closer, not touching but near enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. I have been all over this territory, worked on ranches from the border to Flagstaff. This is some of the prettiest country I have seen. But you have not settled anywhere permanently. He looked at her then, really looked at her. Never had a reason to before. The implication hung in the air between them, heavy with possibility. Lily felt her pulse quicken. And now? Now I am thinking maybe I have been looking for the wrong things. Maybe what a man needs is not in the distance but right in front of him. It was perhaps too soon for such declarations, but Lily found she did not care about propriety or timing. She only cared about the way Owen was looking at her, like she was something precious and rare. Mr. Garrison. Owen, please, just Owen. Owen, she repeated, liking the way his name felt on her tongue. I need to be honest with you about something. He turned to face her fully, giving her his complete attention. I am not looking for passing companionship or casual courtship. I am 22 years old and I know my own mind. If we are going to do this, I need to know that you are serious about building something real. Instead of being put off by her directness, Owen smiled. Miss Lancaster, Lily, I have spent 10 years drifting from ranch to ranch, never putting down roots, never letting myself want more than the next job. And then, I saw you standing on that boardwalk with flower dust in your hair and fire in your eyes, and something in me just stopped running. I cannot promise I will always have the right words or do the right things, but I can promise you that I am serious. More serious than I have ever been about anything. Lily felt tears prick at her eyes, but they were good tears, happy tears. Then we understand each other. He reached out tentatively and took her hand, his calloused fingers gentle around hers. They stood there as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and Lily felt like she was standing at the beginning of something wonderful. The courtship that followed was a sweet agony of restrained desire and growing affection. Owen came to town whenever his work allowed, which was at least once a week, sometimes more. They took walks, attended church socials together, and spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Lily learned that Owen could quote poetry, which surprised her until he admitted his mother had been a schoolteacher before she married his father. Owen learned that Lily had a sharp mind for numbers and often helped her father with the business accounts, and that she dreamed of someday opening a library in Jerome once the town was established enough. 6 weeks into their courtship, on a September evening when the heat had finally broken into something resembling autumn, Owen took Lily to dinner at the hotel restaurant, the nicest establishment in Jerome. Over roasted chicken and potatoes, he talked about his work at the ranch, about a new batch of wild horses Thomas Reed had just purchased. "There is one mare in the bunch that is giving everyone fits," Owen said, cutting into his chicken. "Black as midnight, mean as a snake, and faster than anything I have ever seen. She nearly took off Billy Johnson's hand yesterday when he tried to halter her. Will you work with her? Probably. The boss wants her broken for breeding stock if nothing else. Good bloodlines, he thinks." Lily set down her fork, an idea forming. "Owen, can I ask you something? Anything? Do you love me?" The question clearly caught him off guard. His storm-gray eyes widened slightly, and he carefully set down his own utensils before reaching across the table to take her hand. "Yes. God help me, yes. I know we have not known each other long, but yes, Lily, I love you." Her heart soared at the words, but she kept her expression serious. "Then I want to challenge you to prove it." Now he looked confused. "What do you mean?" "This wild mare you are talking about, the dangerous one. I want you to tame her. Not break her, not just get a saddle on her, but really tame her. Make her trust you. And when you do, I will know that your love is patient and true enough to last a lifetime." Owen sat back in his chair, studying her face. "You want me to risk my neck on a wild horse to prove I love you? I want you to prove that you have the patience and dedication that a marriage requires, that you will not give up when things get difficult, that you can gentle something wild without destroying its spirit." She squeezed his hand. "My father says cowboys are restless men, Owen. Prove to him and to me that you can commit to something difficult and see it through. Then ask me to marry you and I will say yes." For a long moment, Owen was silent, and Lily worried she had pushed too far, asked too much. But then a slow smile spread across his face and he shook his head in admiration. "You are something else, Lily Lancaster. Most women would want flowers and pretty words. I am not most women." "No, you certainly are not." He stood and came around the table, pulling her to her feet. Right there in the hotel restaurant, with a dozen other diners watching, he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. It was their first kiss, tender but thorough, and when he pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "I will tame your wild horse, Lily, and then I am going to marry you and spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you." The next morning, Owen rode back to the Double R Ranch with a new purpose burning in his chest. Thomas Reed, the ranch owner, was a stocky man in his 50s with keen eyes and a reputation for fairness. When Owen explained what he wanted to do with the black mare, Reed listened without interruption. "That horse is dangerous, Owen. I have seen you work with some difficult animals, but this one is different. She has fight in her that goes bone deep." "I know, sir, but I need to do this." Reed studied him for a long moment. "This about that girl in town, The Lancaster girl. Yes, sir. A smile tugged at Reed's weathered face. Love makes men do foolish things, but you are one of my best hands and I trust your judgment. You can work with the mare, but on one condition. You do it smart and safe. I cannot afford to lose you, and I do not want to be the one who tells a young woman that her beau got himself killed trying to prove his devotion. I will be careful, sir. Thank you. The mare was in a reinforced corral at the far end of the ranch property, separated from the other horses. When Owen approached, she was at the far side of the enclosure, her black coat gleaming in the morning sun. She was beautiful, perfectly formed with clean lines and powerful muscles. When she saw him, her ears flattened and she tossed her head, showing the whites of her eyes. "Easy now," Owen said softly, climbing up on the fence rail but not entering the corral yet. "I am not here to hurt you." The mare snorted and pawed the ground, clearly unconvinced. This was how Owen spent his mornings for the next 3 weeks. He would arrive at the corral before dawn and simply sit on the fence, talking to the mare in a low, steady voice. He told her about his life, about his childhood in Texas, about his father's death and his years of drifting. He told her about Lily, about the way her laugh sounded like music, about how she challenged him to be better than he thought he could be. At first, the mare stayed as far from him as the corral allowed. But gradually, day by day, her curiosity began to outweigh her fear. By the end of the first week, she would approach within 20 feet before shying away. By the end of the second week, she was coming within 10 feet, her nostrils flaring as she tested his scent on the wind. Billy Johnson, the hand who had nearly lost his hand to the mare, watched Owen's progress with skepticism. "You are wasting your time, Garrison. That horse needs to be broken hard and fast." "Breaking her would destroy what makes her special," Owen replied, keeping his voice calm so as not to startle the mare. "Besides, I made a promise. To the horse. To someone more important." On Sunday afternoons, when Owen came to town to see Lily, he would tell her about his progress. They would walk together, her hand tucked into the crook of his arm, and he would describe the small victories and setbacks. "She let me touch her nose today," he said one Sunday in late September, pride evident in his voice. "Just for a moment, but she did not bolt." Lily smiled up at him. "You are falling in love with that horse. Maybe a little, but not as much as I am in love with you." They were walking past the church when they encountered Margaret Riley and her mother, Alice. Margaret was the daughter of the mine foreman, a pretty blonde who had always been friendly but never particularly close to Lily. Today, however, Margaret's smile seemed forced. "Lily, Mr. Garrison. Lovely afternoon for a walk." "Hello, Margaret, Mrs. Riley." Margaret's eyes fixed on Owen with unmistakable interest. "I heard you are working with that wild black mare at the Double R. My father says it is quite the sight to see. Just doing my job, Miss Riley. Perhaps I could come watch sometime. I do love horses." Lily felt a flash of possessiveness that surprised her with its intensity. She tightened her grip on Owen's arm slightly. "Owen does not need distractions while working with dangerous animals, Margaret. I am sure you understand." Margaret's smile turned brittle. "Of course. I simply thought it would be entertaining, but I can see you have everything well in hand." The emphasis on the last words was slight but unmistakable. After the Rileys moved on, Owen looked down at Lily with amusement. "Was that jealousy I just witnessed, Miss Lancaster?" "Perhaps." He stopped walking and turned her to face him. "You have nothing to worry about. There is not a woman in the territory who could turn my head now. You have ruined me for anyone else." "Good," Lily said firmly, and kissed him right there on the street, propriety be damned. The breakthrough with the mare came in early October, on a morning when the air had a crisp edge that promised winter was not far behind. Owen arrived at the corral to find the mare waiting near the gate, something she had never done before. Her ears were pricked forward with interest rather than pinned back in aggression. "Hello, beautiful," Owen said softly, climbing over the fence with deliberate slowness. "What has got you in such a friendly mood this morning?" He had brought an apple, as he always did, and he held it out in his flat palm. The mare approached, step by cautious step, until her soft muzzle brushed his hand. She took the apple delicately, crunching it while keeping one eye on him. While she was distracted with the treat, Owen slowly raised his other hand and touched her neck. She tensed but did not bolt. He stroked her once, twice, feeling the warmth of her coat, the powerful muscles underneath. "That is a good girl, see? I am not going to hurt you." From that day forward, progress came faster. The mare, whom Owen had started calling Shadow for her dark coat, and the way she seemed to materialize out of nowhere in the corral, began to actively seek his attention. He could halter her now, lead her around the corral, groom her without fear of being bitten or kicked. The ranch hands who had bet against him grudgingly admitted they had been wrong. Thomas Reed came to watch one afternoon as Owen worked Shadow on a lunge line, teaching her to respond to voice commands. "I have never seen anything like it," Reed admitted. "That horse would have killed most men who tried what you did. You have a gift, Owen." "Not a gift, sir. Just patience and respect. She is not a mean horse, just frightened. Someone probably treated her badly before you bought her. Well, whatever it is, you have earned your bonus for this job, and more than that. I want you to stay on here permanently, not just as a hired hand. I am getting older and my sons have no interest in ranching. I need a foreman I can trust, someone who knows horses and how to treat them right. What do you say?" Owen felt something settle in his chest, a sense of rightness he had not experienced since before his father died. "I say yes, sir." "Thank you. The job comes with a house on the property. It is not much, just 3 rooms, but it is solid. You can fix it up however you like. A house, a permanent position, a future." Owen could not wait to tell Lily. He rode into Jerome that evening, not waiting for Sunday, and found Lily just closing up the store. Her face lit up when she saw him dismount, and she hurried out onto the boardwalk. "Owen, what are you doing here? I have news. Good news. Can you take a walk with me?" Lily called back to her father that she would be home soon, and they walked toward the edge of town where the streets gave way to hillside. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of gold and crimson. "Shadow let me put a saddle on her today," Owen said. "Took it right off again because I am not pushing her, but she did not fight it. She is ready, Lily. I could ride her tomorrow if I wanted to." Lily stopped walking and turned to face him, her eyes shining. "You did it. You actually did it. I told you I would, but that is not the only news. Thomas Reed offered me a foreman position at the ranch. Permanent work, good pay, and a house that comes with the job. I said yes." "Owen, that is wonderful." He took both her hands in his, suddenly nervous in a way he had not been, even facing down Shadow for the first time. "I know we have not been courting long by conventional standards. It has only been a few months. But Lily, I meant what I said. I love you. I want to build a life with you. I am not a rich man, probably never will be, but I can provide for you, give you a good home. And I swear to you that I will spend every day trying to make you happy." "Owen." He dropped to one knee right there on the hillside, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple gold band with a small diamond, nothing fancy but bought with every spare cent he had saved. "Lily Lancaster, will you marry me?" Tears spilled down her cheeks as she nodded, pulling him to his feet. "Yes. Yes, of course I will marry you." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and then he was kissing her, properly and thoroughly, with no restaurant full of people to cut them short. She melted against him, her arms wrapping around his neck, and Owen thought that nothing in his life had ever felt as right as holding this woman. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Lily laughed. "I suppose we should tell my father." "I suppose we should," Owen agreed, though he was reluctant to let her go even for a moment. Harold Lancaster took the news better than either of them expected. He invited Owen inside, poured 3 small glasses of whiskey and raised his in a toast. "To Owen and Lily. May your marriage be blessed with love, patience, and understanding." They drank, and then Harold fixed Owen with a serious look. "I am trusting you with the most precious thing in my life, young man. Do not make me regret it." "I will not, sir. I promise you that." "When are you thinking for the wedding?" Lily and Owen looked at each other, having not actually discussed this yet. "Soon," Lily suggested. "How soon?" "Is a month too soon?" Owen asked. "I know it is fast, but I am not getting any younger and I see no reason to wait." Harold looked at his daughter's radiant face and sighed. "A month? That barely gives us time to plan anything proper." "I do not need proper, Papa. I just need Owen and a preacher." And so it was decided. They would marry on November 15th at the church in Jerome, with a small reception to follow. The announcement caused quite a stir in town, with Margaret Riley looking particularly sour when she heard the news. But Lily barely noticed the gossip and speculation. She was too busy being happy. The month leading up to the wedding was a whirlwind of activity. Lily worked with the other women in town to make her wedding dress, a simple but elegant creation in ivory silk. Owen worked on fixing up the foreman's house, which was indeed only 3 rooms but had good bones and a pleasant view of the ranch. He built new kitchen cabinets, repaired the roof, and even painted the walls, wanting everything perfect for his bride. True to his promise, Owen completed Shadow's training. He rode her for the first time on a crisp November morning, 2 weeks before the wedding. The mare accepted him on her back with only minimal fuss, and by the end of the session, they were working together as if they had been partners for years. "You are keeping her, right?" Billy Johnson asked as Owen dismounted. After all that work, Owen stroked Shadow's neck affectionately. "Mr. Reed agreed to sell her to me as a wedding present to myself. She is going to be Lily's horse. That fancy lady is going to ride a half-wild Mustang." Owen smiled. "That fancy lady challenged me to tame this horse in the first place. Trust me, she will love her." He was right. When Owen brought Shadow to town the week before the wedding, Lily fell in love with the mare instantly. Shadow, who was still wary of most people, seemed to sense something gentle in Lily and accepted her touch without hesitation. "She is beautiful," Lily breathed, running her hands over Shadow's sleek coat. "Owen, I cannot believe you are giving her to me. She is a wedding present." "I figured you deserve something as special and spirited as you are." Lily kissed him thoroughly, not caring who might see. "I love you. I love you too. Think you can learn to ride her before the wedding? I think I can learn anything with you teaching me." They spent the next several days working together with Shadow. Owen teaching Lily not just how to ride, but how to communicate with the mare, how to read her moods and responses. It was intimate work that required trust and closeness, and by the time their wedding day arrived, Lily could ride Shadow with confidence. November 15th dawned cold but clear, the sky a brilliant blue that seemed to bless the proceedings. The church was packed with townsfolk, miners, ranchers, and everyone else who had come to know Lily and Owen over the past months. Harold Lancaster walked his daughter down the aisle with tears in his eyes, placing her hand in Owen's with obvious reluctance to let her go. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. Owen spoke his vows in a strong, clear voice, promising to love and cherish Lily for as long as they both lived. Lily's voice trembled with emotion as she made the same promises, but her eyes never left his face. When the preacher pronounced them husband and wife, Owen's kiss was tender and full of promise. The reception was held at the hotel, with food and music and dancing that lasted well into the evening. Harold Lancaster made a speech about his daughter's courage and strength, about how proud her mother would have been. Thomas Reed toasted Owen's skill and dedication, joking that he had gained a foreman but lost his peace of mind now that Owen would be too happy to focus properly on work. Finally, as the stars came out overhead, Owen and Lily left the celebration in a wagon loaded with their belongings and wedding gifts, heading toward the Double R Ranch and their new home. Shadow was tied behind the wagon, following along peacefully. The house looked warm and welcoming with lamplight glowing from the windows. Owen had left lamps burning before they went to town that morning, wanting to come home to light. He helped Lily down from the wagon and then, in a move that surprised her, he swept her up into his arms and carried her over the threshold. "Welcome home, Mrs. Garrison," he said, setting her down gently in their small parlor. Lily looked around at the simple but clean space, at the furniture Owen had built or refinished, at the curtains she had sewn herself. "It is perfect." They came together in the doorway to their bedroom, kissing with the hunger of two people who had waited patiently for this moment. Owen was gentle with her, mindful that she was new to this, but Lily met his passion with her own. Their wedding night was a sweet discovery of each other, a joining that felt both inevitable and miraculous. Afterward, lying in Owen's arms with her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, Lily felt complete in a way she never had before. "Thank you for taming the wild horse," she said softly. Owen kissed the top of her head. "Thank you for challenging me to do it. You made me want to be better, to prove myself worthy of you. You were always worthy. I just needed you to see it." They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and when morning came, they woke to their first day as husband and wife. Owen had to work, but he was reluctant to leave the warmth of their bed and the softness of his wife beside him. "Go," Lily said, laughing and pushing him gently. "You have responsibilities now. You are a foreman, remember." "Being a husband is a responsibility too," he protested, but he was already getting dressed. "And you can fulfill those responsibilities tonight when you come home." The promise in her voice made Owen groan. "You are going to kill me, woman, but you will die happy." Owen kissed her once more, long and deep, before finally forcing himself to leave. Lily watched him go, then rose herself to begin organizing their household properly. She had quit working at her father's store to focus on being a ranch wife, though she knew she would visit often. Harold Lancaster had been sad to see her go, but understood that she was beginning her own life now. The first months of marriage were an adjustment, as all marriages are. Owen worked long hours, especially as winter set in, and the ranch work became more demanding. Lily learned to manage a household on her own, to cook for her husband, to make their small house into a warm home. They had their small disagreements, like when Owen tracked mud through her clean kitchen, or when Lily spent too much money on books she ordered from back east. But they learned to talk through their problems, to listen to each other, to compromise. And every night, they came together in their bed, the passion between them never dimming. If anything, it grew stronger as they learned each other's bodies and desires. Lily blossomed under Owen's love, becoming more confident and certain of herself. Owen, in turn, found a peace he had never known, a sense of belonging that transformed him from a drifter into a man with roots. In February, Lily realized she had missed her monthly courses twice. She told Owen over supper one evening, watching his face carefully to gauge his reaction. "A baby," he said, his voice full of wonder. "You are carrying our baby." "I think so. I want to see the doctor tomorrow to be sure, but yes, I believe I am." Owen came around the table so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. He pulled Lily to her feet and held her carefully as if she might break. "This is the best news, the absolute best news. You are happy, happy. Lily, I am over the moon. We are going to have a family." The doctor confirmed it the next day. Lily was pregnant, due to deliver in early September. The news spread through the ranch quickly, with the hands congratulating Owen and Thomas Reed looking pleased as punch about his foreman starting a family. "A baby needs a father who is settled and committed," Reed said. "This makes me even more confident in my choice of foreman." Harold Lancaster, when he heard the news, looked both delighted and melancholy. "Your mother would have been so happy. She always wanted to be a grandmother." "I wish she were here," Lily said softly. "So do I, sweetheart, so do I." The pregnancy was not easy. Lily suffered from morning sickness that lasted well into her 4th month, and the summer heat made her swell and ache. But Owen was attentive and loving, rubbing her feet when they hurt, fetching her water in the middle of the night, reading to her when she felt too tired to do anything else. In late August, a letter arrived that would change everything. It was addressed to Owen, postmarked from San Antonio, Texas. When he opened it, his face went pale. "What is it?" Lily asked, alarmed. "It is from my cousin Lily. I have not heard from him in years." Owen read through the letter again, his expression stunned. "My uncle died last month. He had a ranch outside San Antonio, bigger than the double R. He left it to me in his will." Lily's hand went to her swollen belly instinctively. "Left you a ranch? My uncle never married, had no children. I am his only living relative. Lily says the ranch is in good shape, running well, but it needs an owner. He wants to know if I will come take possession of it." They looked at each other across their small kitchen table, both understanding the magnitude of what this meant. Owen would own his own ranch, not just manage someone else's. It was an incredible opportunity. But it would mean leaving Jerome, leaving the double R, leaving everything they had built here. "What do you want to do?" Lily asked. "I do not know. What do you want to do?" she considered carefully. "It is your inheritance, Owen, your family's ranch. I think we have to at least go look at it, see what we would be taking on. But not until after the baby comes. I am not traveling to Texas this pregnant." Owen nodded, relief evident on his face. "After the baby, we will decide together." Their son was born on September 7th, after a long and difficult labor that had Owen pacing the parlor while the doctor and midwife attended to Lily. When he finally heard the baby's cry, strong and healthy, he nearly broke down the bedroom door to get to his wife. Lily was exhausted, her hair plastered to her forehead with sweat, but she had never looked more beautiful to Owen than she did holding their son. "Meet Samuel," she said softly. "Samuel Harold Garrison." Owen touched his son's tiny hand with one finger, marveling at how small and perfect he was. "Samuel, hello, little man. I am your papa." The baby's eyes opened, unfocused but searching, and Owen felt his heart expand in a way he had not known was possible. This was his son, his family, everything he had never known he wanted and now could not imagine living without. "He is perfect," Owen whispered. "You are perfect. I love you both so much." They spent the next few weeks adapting to life with a newborn. Samuel was a good baby, relatively speaking, though he woke frequently to nurse and seemed to have his days and nights confused for the first 2 weeks. Owen helped as much as he could, changing diapers and walking with the baby when Lily needed to sleep. Still working full days at the ranch, but coming home every moment he could spare. It was in late September, when Samuel was 3 weeks old, that they finally discussed the ranch in Texas seriously. Owen had written to his cousin Ellie explaining about the baby and saying they would try to come visit in the spring. But Ellie had written back urging them to come sooner, saying the ranch needed an owner's attention, and the foreman currently running things was talking about leaving. "We could wait until spring, like you said," Owen told Lily as they sat together on the porch, Samuel asleep in her arms. "But Lily seems worried. If the foreman leaves and the ranch goes without proper management all winter, we could lose a lot of value. And it is your inheritance, your father's brother's legacy." Lily looked down at their sleeping son. "Samuel should grow up knowing his family's history, having a place that belongs to him. But you would be leaving your father and Jerome everything you know." Lily was quiet for a long moment. "Papa will visit, and Jerome is not my whole world anymore. My world is right here, you and Samuel. Wherever we go, as long as we are together, that is home." Owen kissed her temple, love swelling in his chest. "Are you sure? This is a big decision." "I am sure. Let us go to Texas. Let us see this ranch and decide if it is where we want to build our future. We can always come back if it does not work out." So the decision was made. Owen gave Thomas Reed notice, and while the older man was sad to lose his foreman, he understood. A man has to build his own legacy, not just manage someone else's. "You will do well in Texas, Owen. You have the skills and the heart for it." Harold Lancaster was harder to convince. The thought of his daughter and grandson moving to Texas, hundreds of miles away, clearly pained him. But he also recognized that this was an opportunity Owen could not pass up. "Write to me often," he told Lily as they prepared to leave, "and come visit when you can, or I will come to Texas. Somehow we will see each other. I promise, Papa, this is not goodbye forever, just goodbye for now." They left Jerome in early October, their belongings packed into a sturdy wagon. Shadow and another horse Owen had bought tied behind. Samuel, now 6 weeks old, was bundled carefully in a basket lined with soft blankets. The journey to San Antonio would take at least 2 weeks, possibly longer with a baby to care for. The trip was long and exhausting. They traveled through New Mexico territory and into Texas, stopping at small towns and way stations along the route. Samuel was surprisingly good for such a young baby, seeming to enjoy the motion of the wagon. At night, they would make camp, and Owen would set up their tent while Lily nursed the baby. They would lie together under the stars, listening to the sounds of the desert night and talk about what the future might hold. "Are you scared?" Lily asked one night, cuddled against Owen's side with Samuel between them. "A little. I have never owned anything before, never been responsible for more than just myself. Now I have a ranch, a wife, a son. That is a lot of responsibility." "You can handle it. You tamed a wild horse, remember?" Owen smiled in the darkness. "Best decision I ever made, taking on that challenge." "Best decision I ever made was issuing it." They reached San Antonio in late October, and from there it was another half-day's ride to the ranch. When they crested the hill and saw it spread out before them, Owen pulled the wagon to a stop, stunned. The ranch was bigger than he had imagined, with a substantial main house, several outbuildings, a large barn, and extensive corrals. Cattle dotted the pastures, and he could see hands working in the distance. This was not just a ranch. This was a legacy. "Owen," Lily said softly, her eyes wide. "It is enormous." His cousin Ali came riding out to meet them, a tall man in his early 30s with Owen's same gray eyes. He was grinning as he dismounted. "Cousin, you made it, and you must be Lily, and this little one must be Samuel." The reunion was warm, with Ali helping them unload their wagon and showing them around the ranch. The main house was spacious, with 6 rooms including a proper nursery for Samuel. The previous owner, Owen's uncle Marcus, had maintained it well. There were established fields, good water rights, and a herd of nearly 500 head of cattle. Uncle Marcus built something special here, Lily explained as they toured. He was a hard man in some ways, but he knew ranching. The hands respect the operation. They are just waiting to see if you will keep things running the way they have been. Owen met with the foreman, a grizzled man named Jack Sterling who had worked for Marcus Garrison for 20 years. Jack was direct and no nonsense, clearly testing Owen to see what kind of man he was. "Your uncle was tough but fair," Jack said. "Paid well, expected hard work. You planning to change things?" "Not if they are working. I am here to learn as much as lead. You know this ranch better than I ever will. I would be grateful for your guidance." Something in Jack's expression shifted, respect replacing skepticism. "Well then, I think we will get along fine, boss." That first year in Texas was a steep learning curve. Owen worked alongside his hands, learning every aspect of the ranch from managing the cattle to maintaining equipment to dealing with the business side of ranching. Lily transformed the house into a real home, decorating and organizing, planting a garden in the spring. Samuel grew from an infant to a toddler, taking his first steps in the main house parlor, saying his first word, "Papa," to Owen's immense delight. They made the ranch successful through hard work and dedication. Owen's gentle approach with horses earned him respect, and when he started a horse breeding program alongside the cattle operation, it proved lucrative. Lily managed the household accounts with her usual skill, and together they made the ranch not just profitable but thriving. Harold Lancaster visited twice in those first 3 years, staying for weeks at a time and doting on his grandson. He reported that Jerome was continuing to grow, that the store was doing well, that everyone asked after Lily. She missed her hometown sometimes, missed the friends she had made there, but Texas had become home in a way she had not expected. In the spring of Samuel's 3rd year, Lily discovered she was pregnant again. This time, the pregnancy was easier, perhaps because she knew what to expect. Their daughter, Rose Margaret Garrison, was born in December during a rare Texas snowstorm. She had Owen's gray eyes and Lily's delicate features, and Samuel was immediately smitten with his baby sister. "Gentle," Lily reminded him as he tried to touch Rose's tiny fingers. "She is very small." "I am Big Brother," Samuel announced proudly, a phrase he had been practicing for weeks. The ranch continued to prosper. By the time Samuel was 5 and Rose was 2, the Garrison Ranch was known throughout the region for quality cattle and exceptional horses. Owen had a particular talent for breeding horses with good temperaments and strong builds, and buyers came from as far as Houston and Dallas to purchase his stock. Shadow, now an older mare but still spirited, had produced several foals over the years, each one inheriting her intelligence and spirit. Lily still rode her regularly, often with Samuel perched in front of her saddle and, as she got older, Rose behind. The children were growing up with an easy comfort around horses that came from being raised on a ranch. It was a good life, full of hard work, but also love and satisfaction. Owen and Lily's marriage deepened over the years, growing from passionate young love into something richer and more enduring. They had their arguments, their challenges, times when money was tight or the weather did not cooperate or illness struck the herd. But they faced everything together, partners in the truest sense. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Owen took Lily back to the hillside where he had proposed, leaving the children with Harold, who was visiting again. They stood together watching the sunset over their land, his arms around her waist, her head resting against his chest. "You ever regret it?" Owen asked softly. "Leaving Arizona, your father, the life you knew," Lily turned in his arms to face him. "Not for one single moment. My life is here with you, with our children. This is where I am meant to be. I still cannot believe sometimes that you challenged me to tame that horse." What if I had failed? You could not have failed. I saw something in you from the very beginning, Owen. Patience, strength, dedication. I knew if you could tame Shadow, you would have the qualities to build a life with me, to weather whatever storms came our way. She was easier to tame than you have been, Owen teased, and Lily swatted his chest playfully. I am not meant to be tamed, Owen Garrison. You know that. I do. And I love you for it. You are wild and free and fierce, and every day I wake up grateful that you chose me. They kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Behind them, their house glowed with warm light, their children's laughter carrying on the evening breeze. Ahead of them stretched years of life together, of watching their children grow, of building their legacy. Samuel would grow up to be a skilled rancher like his father, gentle with horses and respected by the hands. He would marry a schoolteacher from San Antonio named Catherine, and they would give Owen and Lily 6 grandchildren. Rose would prove to have a head for business that surpassed even Lily's, eventually managing the financial side of the ranch and doubling their profits through smart investments. She would marry late, at 30, to a lawyer named Michael, and they would have 3 children. But all of that was still in the future. In that moment, on their 10th anniversary, Owen and Lily simply held each other and marveled at the life they had built from a challenge issued in a mining town in Arizona territory. A wild horse tamed with patience and love, and a promise made on a hillside under a painted sky. I love you, Lily whispered. I love you too, always. The years continued to pass in a rhythm of seasons and celebration. The ranch expanded as Owen purchased adjacent properties, eventually owning nearly 10,000 acres. He never lost his gentle touch with horses, even as he became a successful businessman and respected member of the San Antonio ranching community. He taught his sons and grandsons his methods, passing on the philosophy that patience and respect would always yield better results than force and domination. Lily remained his partner in every sense, managing the household and accounts, raising their children, and always being his sounding board for difficult decisions. She never lost her sharp mind or independent spirit, and Owen never wanted her to. She was his wild horse, the one he had won not through breaking but through proving himself worthy. Shadow lived to the remarkable age of 28, producing many fine foals and carrying Lily on countless rides across ranch land. When she finally passed peacefully in her sleep one spring night, both Owen and Lily mourned her like the friend she had been. They buried her on the hillside overlooking the ranch, with a marker that read, Shadow, the horse that brought us together. Harold Lancaster lived to 83, spending his final years dividing his time between the ranch in Texas and his store in Jerome, which he eventually sold to a young couple just starting out. He died peacefully in his sleep during one of his Texas visits, surrounded by his daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. They buried him next to Shadow on the hillside, knowing he would have approved of the spot. Owen and Lily grew old together, their hair turning silver, their hands becoming weathered from decades of work. But Owen still looked at his wife with the same intensity he had on that dusty street in Jerome, and Lily still felt her heart skip when his storm-gray eyes met hers. They had built something rare and precious, a love that had weathered time and trials and emerged stronger for it. On a warm evening in May, when Owen was 70 and Lily was 67, they sat together on the porch of the ranch house they had made their own. Their grandchildren were running around the yard, playing some complicated game that involved horses and Indians and a great deal of shouting. Samuel and Catherine were visiting with their youngest, and Rose and Michael were due to arrive the next day with their family. We did well, did we not? Owen said, taking Lily's hand in his, their fingers fitting together as perfectly as they had 50 years before. "We did very well indeed. I am glad you challenged me to prove my love all those years ago." Lily squeezed his hand. "I am glad you said you would tame the wildest horse for me. Though I think we both know you tamed my wild heart just as surely." "Never tamed, just earned the right to run beside you." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set over their land, over the legacy they had built, over the family they had created through love and commitment, and the patience to see difficult things through. The wild horse had been tamed, not through force but through gentle persistence. The cowboy had proved his love not with grand gestures but with daily devotion. And the woman who had challenged him had found in him everything she had hoped for and more. Their story, which had begun with a gunshot on a dusty Arizona street and a challenge issued over dinner in a frontier mining town, had become a testament to what love could build when two people were willing to work for it, fight for it, and honor it every single day. It was a story they would tell their grandchildren, who would tell their own children, keeping alive the memory of the cowboy who tamed a wild horse to prove his love, and the woman brave enough to challenge him to do it. As darkness fell and the stars emerged overhead, the same stars that had watched them make their way from Arizona to Texas all those years ago, Owen and Lily remained on their porch, hands clasped, hearts entwined, living proof that some loves are worth any challenge, any risk, any distance. They had traveled far from that dusty mining town, but they had traveled together, and that had made all the difference. The wild horse had been their beginning, the symbol of a love that could not be broken, only gentled. The ranch was their middle, the years of building and growing and raising a family. And this quiet evening surrounded by the fruits of their labor and the evidence of their love, this was their triumph. Not an ending, but a continuation, a testament to a promise made and kept, to a challenge issued and met, to a love that had proven itself day after day, year after year, until it had become as permanent and enduring as the Texas land beneath their feet and the wide sky above their heads.